Brakat Yahweh, Brakat Yahushai, Brakat Yahweh, Brakat Yahushai, Brakat Yahweh, Brakat Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bahashim, Chakudash, that belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the hopefully like that day. You Akim to Zadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. I'm the priest Shimon. This week's topic is going to be entitled Filter Conspiracies. Filter Conspiracies. What inspired this lesson? A few things. Recently Candace Owens, she did a show. All right. She's been putting together a lot of bangers, a lot of shows and interviews of people who you would never see get away with speaking on YouTube, because you have different sort of conspiracy theorists. You have certain conspiracy theorists like Alex Jones who just shouts out things, and you have the journalistic conspiracy theories wherein they'll name names, and that's what I've sort of realized. You have certain conspiracy people that will name names, go into legit redacted information that could put people in jail. Those get censored. People like Alex Jones, they'll keep their platform. People like David Icke, which is saying you could morph into a reptilian and morph back into a human, they'll get platformed. And a lot of things that have been happening in recent events, the Mossad have a lot happening in terms of releasing secrets and just strange events, okay? All right, that could get lumped up as more than what it is, for example. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, you do have basically you have events that are organic, right? Meaning something naturally just happened. The Mossad made something happen. And you have the elites that could use that for their own nefarious purposes, right? Those things happen. Something could actually happen. Like, for example, like a school shooting, right? A guy could shoot up a school. Well, they could actually use that for whatever reasons they want, gun control, right? Or you could have something that is synthetic, meaning they orchestrated the whole thing. And I think a good example of that was the whole C-19 situation, right? Back in 2020. That red pilled the fuck out of a lot of people. What do I mean by that? A lot of people would rule you off if you say, look, the government does legit things, okay? Stages legit things for their own nefarious purposes. People would once dismiss that. But after that C-19 situation and how the government handled with it and the information that was given after, people are saying, holy shit, wait a minute, I can't trust shit. I can't trust anything the government says, right? And what that does is it's kind of a double-edged sword, because look, rejecting everything you see on the news is effectively the same as accepting everything you see in the news. If you're running counterintelligence and you don't want people to get information, you could have them believe a particular narrative every time, but effectively it's the same as if they just don't believe anything anytime. So as information comes out, we want to filter it, right? We have to filter everything. Now, this is the book of Ephesians 5:15. It says, see then that you walk circumspectly, meaning to constantly look around and inspect things, right? Not as fools, but as wise, right? And the reason I want to also put this out is, the stuff that Candace Owens was speaking on. For example, the most recent one with the USS Liberty. The USS Liberty was an American naval boat that was shot down by Israel during the 6-Day War back in 1967, and that was a conspiracy at the time. Israel wouldn't shoot down an American ship. Now, I knew about this from watching a guy named Ryan Dawson. He would mention this stuff, but again, he's banned on everything, right? He's recently got put up on X, but he would mention this stuff and he would bring out articles about this stuff. Years ago, I was looking at that, and I was like, there's no way this would get put on YouTube. Now, sure enough, she's interviewing a survivor of that situation, and it's being put up on YouTube. Now, she doesn't put that in the title. The title is, I think her title was like, she's sharing something to that effect, I guess, because you have to mask your title sometimes, because if you'd have put USS Liberty in your title, those algorithms could have probably flagged the video before anybody could catch wind. So you even your titles, you kind of got to be careful when you speak against some so-called Jews, you know what I'm saying? But that's a legitimate conspiracy, right? Now, I want to speak about organic events, how they can use them, and synthetic events, so sort of how to separate the two. Recently, we have Louis Mangione, right? The guy who assassinated the United Healthcare CEO. And last week at camp, Apostle Ella after camp closed up, sort of, what do you brothers got? What are your thoughts? And I posted the Apostle two theories. One was, and this was before we knew his identity, was the whole insider trading thing, right? Because United Healthcare, they suffered a cyber attack, and on February 21st, Nancy Pelosi, who's known for insider trading, pretty much got some call options from Palo Alto, because Palo Alto got the deal, right? Palo Alto got the deal to deal with the cybersecurity. She made a lot of money. And there was also there was also an FBI probe on the United Healthcare CEO for insider trading. So, the narrative could have been like, look, he got assassinated because of this reason, that he might bring out information on insider trading that goes on. And the second thing I posed was this guy was driven by the fact that the healthcare industry fucks people over, right? Which it does. And the reason being because he left deny, depose, defend, carved into the bullet of the gun that he used, which is a 3D printed, well, parts of it 3D printed, so it wouldn't have a serial number, right? And I said, look, those are the two running theories. And I was like, look, theory one, the insider trading, theory two could be used as an alibi, like a distraction, right? Like, I'm going to kill him because he's going to release information concerning insider trading. But, I could pose it as he's doing it as a sort of revenge plot about the United Healthcare CEO. And sometimes what I'm realizing too is when a lot of stuff goes on, you don't want to necessarily jump on the show or jump on the lesson right away. You kind of want more information to come out. Let more information come out before I cast a judgment on it, right? And when his name was revealed, that's when I was like, okay, it lines in with theory two, which was, it's philosophically driven, right? And the thing with that too is, like, let's say you have two theories on what the hell is going on. You kind of got to fight your own theory, meaning you got to kind of give facts against your own views. The facts that I got against the whole assassination thing was, one, he's coming from a wealthy family. So it's not, when you hire an assassin for money, people need the money. He doesn't need the money at all. His family is generationally wealthy, right? His grandfather's real estate portfolio is what, $50 million to $100 million net worth. So he's good on money. And two, Nancy's trade was executed back in February 21st. This guy commented on Ted Kaczynski's manifesto. Ted Kaczynski is the Unabomber, right? The Unabomber was a guy that was mailing bombs in the mail, and he attacked particular industries, including the airline industry. Hence he got the name the Unabomber. And he commented on Amazon about Ted Kaczynski's book. He left a lengthy comment. Pretty much he was saying that Ted Kaczynski was right. Sometimes violence is required to make particular changes, right? And that was done back in January. So the man, his philosophical outlook, wherein the only way that we're gonna stop these United Care Health people from fucking people over is we have to take actual action. He made that comment back in January, okay? And him reading that book could be corroborated because this guy read over 295 books. He was a part of a book club, and that Ted Kaczynski's manifesto was recommended to him by the guy that kind of put the book club meeting together, right? And he reads all types of books, when they interviewed him and stuff. So it wasn't per se to kind of motivate him into any direction. That was just his takeaway from it. So the philosophical theory of it, like, look, I'm doing this because, very similar to Ted Kaczynski. Okay, their mindset is this: I know I'm doing wrong, I know I'm killing a person, but I'm killing this one person to stop them from effectively killing thousands of people. So that's their whole and it kind of and it fits in that narrative. Even when he got pulled out of the car and he was screaming, "This is an attack on the American people, intelligence and such." You could see that it was from a philosophical standpoint as to his motive, right? This is his ideology, and the whole defend, deny, depose. Guess what? It goes back to another book on how the healthcare people screw people over. So a lot of that information was put on the news, right? But if your whole thing is just like fuck the news, reject everything on the news, you would effectively miss a lot of information, right? So you can't just have that stance of, well, it's on the news, so I'm just going to reject it because it's just the same as it's on the news, I'm just going to accept it. This is the book of Revelations 3:18. It says, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich. This is alluding to men of the Lord, right? Elect men of the Lord, who's compared to gold. Sirach chapter 2 on down, 2 and 1 on down to 5. It says, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear and anoint thine eye with eye salve that thou mayest see, right? So that's the scriptures to let us see through the dark. And there's a lot of actual conspiracies that take place, no doubt, but it's just like a lot of disinformation is coming out. Like when I was doing due diligence on the situation before I speak on it, I was seeing things like there's 2 murderers and that's not him, and this jacket doesn't match that jacket, a lot of stuff. But like the information comes out that, look, these videos are weeks apart. The reason he pulled down his mask was because of the hostel he was required at. They required him to show his face. He flirted with a clerk and smiled because she told him to smile. And a high definition photo came out of him, and you could kind of see that he had a unibrow, but in the actual pixelated video he doesn't have a unibrow. Well, look, if you do lessons, you know this, right? Especially like if you did, you're doing lessons like 10 plus years ago, the quality when you render something, a lot of details get lost. I remember when I used to watch videos of the apostles or brothers, it'll kind of look like you had a perfect lineup, right? But we know we're not supposed to shape our shit up. Why is that? It looked like that because a lot of the fine hairs on your face, it get lost when things get rendered in lower quality, right? So I was seeing that. Why did he keep the gun? Well, why did he keep? Let's deal with that. Why did he keep the gun? Why did he get caught with the gun on him? Well, if he's modeling himself after Ted Kaczynski was a guy that was the Unabomber. He started in 1978. He didn't get caught until 95. So it seems, again, if this guy was molding himself off the Unabomber, he probably wanted to continue it more and sort of lead behind this message very similar to the Unabomber, except in today's time there's too much technology, and too much information to where like everybody knew who he was. He got tipped off by somebody at McDonald's, which it turns out this guy had a thing for McDonald's, man. An interesting fact, something I was reading, the guy that tipped off law enforcement, that called 911, he might not get the 50K because he didn't call the tip hotline. So you see the so-called white man is a fucking duffel, man. He didn't call the tip hotline. If the FBI puts out an award, that has to go through the State Department. The 911 that has to go through, it's a federal situation. FBI is federal, 911 is state. So it's pretty crazy about that. But anyways, yeah, so I saw a bunch of things like that, but I'm just like, I didn't lean towards this guy being like some sort of Manchurian candidate or anything like that, for the simple fact, like, he's not like Thomas Crooks. Thomas Crooks, the guy who tried to assassinate President-elect Donald Trump, you couldn't find shit on this dude. It was very hard to get information on this guy. It's like a lot of his shit was scrubbed. Wherein this dude, a lot of his social media was kept up. Actually, when his information was revealed, you could have took a look at his Instagram and his Amazon. All that stuff was still up. Like, a lot of his information was still up. So, and another thing is like, okay, why did they give it so much coverage, right? Because I've heard that too. Like, why are they giving this thing so much coverage? Well, United Healthcare is the top 16 largest company in the United States per market cap. It's a very big company, and I mean, the CEO is very important. You have somebody that was assassinated on camera in Manhattan in the morning. That's gonna get some coverage, brother. And the reason I'm saying we have to filter these conspiracy theories is because, like, let's take a look at this, right? Let's look at back in 2013. Christopher Dorner, right? Christopher Dorner. Y'all brothers remember this. If y'all do remember he was a cop that started killing other cops because he felt that he was wrongfully fired from the LAPD because he wrote a letter against his partner who used excessive force to capture somebody that needed to get captured, right? And he felt it was racially driven. He said he was going to use asymmetrical warfare. He had his own manifesto, right? By the way, a manifesto is when these guys write why they're doing what they're doing. That's all a manifesto is. So Christopher Dorner had a manifesto, right? His shit was like almost something like out of a movie, right? He wasn't getting caught, all that type of stuff. He eventually did get caught. He wanted a shootout. He dropped dead. He shot himself, right? Now, that was 2013. This was before X. This was before BLM. Imagine that story happening now. You know how much fucking conspiracies and straws you'd have to go through before you could just get to the bottom of the fact? Because now, when something happens, when organic events happens, you have people that are gonna put just a bunch of straw shit that has nothing to do with nothing. That you, it's like, man, like, how can you really do some good journalism here, man? You know. Anyways, Luke 12:2, scripture of the year, right? It says, "For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known." Right. So the Most High is revealing a lot of shit, and as stuff come out, sometimes you can step back, let it wait a little bit, and the Most High will, you know, have it come out. A lot of the shit that comes out too is a lot of Edomites telling on Edomites, you know. But as these conspiracies come out, you don't want to get caught up in straws. You know, I think a good example I'll use is like 9/11, right? 9/11 was a plot between radical jihadists that are part of Al Qaeda, all right, that attacked the World Trade Center, all right, with help from Saudi Arabia intelligence, Israel intelligence, the Mossad, and compromised CIA intelligence, right? And compromised FBI intelligence. Now, if you try to go into that, you try to go into the detail, guess what you're going to get hit with? Hologram planes, steel don't melt at this degree. You're going to get into a whole bunch of straw shit. You're like, okay, you're so concerned about how the fuck it fell, but who actually did it? You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to these conspiracies, man, you know, we do have to filter them. We can't just say, well, this just came on the news, so we just, you know, it's bullshit, you know? Because when you actually go into what happened to 9/11, a lot of the shit that did happen, you know, when after the FBI released certain redacted information, was found on the news. The dancing Israelis, they did capture them on the George Washington Bridge with bombs in an explosive van. That was on the Fox 5 News. Now, they didn't say that there was Israeli intelligence, but that was on the news. You know what I'm saying? And as more shit comes out, sort of like, you know, you're gonna have counterintelligence also putting out disinformation with the actual information that people just don't know what the fuck to believe. You know what I'm saying? But it's our job, you know, the spirit, you know, look at these different articles, you know, don't just rule off every single news outlet. You know, I give you an example, like what's going on in Syria right now. I don't lean onto Al Jazeera, because Al Jazeera, they're not pro-Syrian, right? They're not pro-Syrian. So I might have to go to Press TV, for example. But that doesn't mean that Al Jazeera won't bring out good information. I think also during like the whole COVID lockdown situation, Tucker Carlson on Fox News, he was bringing out legit information that it shows, like after later time, that look, that was accurate. You know, I remember when that situation happened, you know, a lot of us, we didn't know what the hell was going on. And I was like, look, this has nothing to do with no medical situation. This is a large part of it was a wealth grab, right? And the whole mask thing and 6 feet apart, they was using that also for their particular nefarious purposes. Like for example, BLM, they could use the whole mask thing to now commit crimes and riots. And now you have a mask over your face and you don't know who's who. The whole 6 feet apart thing, you could use that from a political standpoint, right? Because Trump was doing his rallies and have these huge massive rallies. Now that everybody has to be 6 feet apart, you'd have no rallies. So they could use synthetic events for their own nefarious purposes. They could also use organic events. Things just actually happen, meaning like somebody actually just doing some shit crazy and it's on the news, okay? And use that for their own nefarious offense, their own nefarious purposes. But at the same time, as information gets pushed out, you literally have to filter, because you have counterintelligence on X and TikTok pushing out this information. You also have people being their own private investigators and putting shit out. Sometimes they could put out accurate information, and sometimes the information they put out, you also have to double check it yourself. So I think that's it on that, brothers. You know, a lot is coming out, which is great. You know, this is the Most High working and revealing a lot in these times. But as these things come out, we have to filter even the conspiracies. We have to filter those. We can't just say, we can't just look for anti-news information, was what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's on the news, that can't be true. Nowadays, you're gonna, again, it's effectively the same thing as believing everything on the news. All right, so with that, I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Chakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the hopefully elect out there, you Akim to Zadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. Shalom.